You're listening to the ESO Network, your station for all things geek.
Hello, and welcome to episode 336 of the Soul Forge podcast.
Welcome to the Soul Forge, a place of silent mystery, quiet contemplation, and outright mayhem. Join your host, Sean Vanderloo, as he guides you through the adventures of living. Together, we'll talk about life and love, sex and dating, joy and heartache, memories and loss, and so much more. Don't worry, it's not nearly as pretentious as it sounds. Get ready for life, the universe, and everything on the Soul Forge.
Hey everybody, it's Sean, back at you with another mildly entertaining episode of Soul Forge. It's a solo episode this week, and as I'm recording it, what is today? Today is September the 4th. Yesterday on the 3rd, it was my 48th birthday. I believe this is coming out on the 5th. Yes, today is Wednesday, tomorrow's Thursday, so this is true. I wasn't going to release an episode this week. Lots of stuff going on. We're trying to sell the house. We're in the middle of negotiations for that. We have Leah's dad here because he has a doctor's appointment and he lives an hour away. So it's just been a lot of stuff going on. But I'm off this week from work. I took it off and I figured, what am I going to do on a Wednesday morning other than record a rambling episode of the podcast? So here we are. I don't even know everything that I'm going to be talking about, but we're going to just play it by ear and see what happens. I was actually listening to episode 121 of the Rusted Robot podcast that was released this week in 2016. And I thought, you know what, because it showed up in my memories, because I had posted it on Facebook, I was like, well, maybe I'll give it a listen and see what it's about and maybe re-release that episode because it's been 8 years and many of you have never heard of any of the episodes of Rusted Robot. But then I started listening to it. I was about 5 minutes in. The sound quality was really low. It was me and Josh and Kitty. And I didn't care. It was something about celebrity deaths because Gene Wilder had died that week. And the episode was called something like Immortality and the Robot Body. And I know I've done episodes like that before here on Soul Forge. So why bother repeating something that's hard to hear and is redundant? Why bother repeating something that's hard to hear and is redundant? It'd be a lot simpler for me because then I wouldn't have to come up with new information like I'm trying right now. But whatever, who cares? Why bother repeating something that's hard to hear and is redundant? If you want to listen to that episode, I can email you the what's it called, the MP3 file. I don't believe those episodes are on YouTube. Actually, I think, what was it? I haven't looked in a while, but most of the back catalog of Rusted Robot podcast is on YouTube. I think starting with episode 154 or 55 or something like that. And almost all of Soul Forge is on there as well. And I did change the name of my YouTube channel. It's now just at Soul Forge Podcast because that's easy to remember. And if you're listening to Soul Forge and you want to find out the YouTube channel, there it is. Episode 121, Arrested Robot, Immortality and Death. Nah, not going to play it for you this week. Why bother repeating something that's hard to hear and is redundant? Are you disappointed? I doubt it. And remember, if you do want it, soulforgepodcast@gmail.com is our email address. Soulforge Podcast is our YouTube channel. And despite the fact that Leah and I have started Have Coffee, We'll Travel podcast, I'm continuing to record more and more Soul Forge episodes. Like last week was with Brother Robin, and the week before that, I actually don't remember. That might have been a repeat, but here we are. How is Have Coffee, We'll Travel podcast going? We're not megastars yet. We've released 4 full-length episodes and the initial 0 episode trailer, and it's getting downloads, not every day, but we are enjoying it. The last episode was about the history of coffee, and because coffee is an all-encompassing topic, we're going to have more episodes about that spread throughout the run. Just not back to back to back, because who wants to hear about coffee every week? Maybe some people. I don't know. Have you subscribed to Have Coffee Will Travel? I hope you have. It's on all podcast platforms, and we really need to get the word out there. So if you could subscribe and download and like and share the links with everybody, that would be fantastic. What else do I want to talk about? Let's see. So I just turned 48 yesterday, and we went out to dinner to Chuck's Roadhouse, and we have done a restaurant review on that a few months ago, I believe, here on Soulforge. Who was there? It was Leah and I, her son Wyatt, my dad, and Leah's dad. So it was a bit of everybody, and we had our dinner out on the patio, and it was starting to get cold. I got free ice cream for my birthday. They did not sing to me, which was great because I don't like being that much of the center of attention. A little bit of attention is good, but at a restaurant with a bunch of random people that you don't know singing at you and everybody staring, no thank you. So here I am having this week off. Leah could not get it off because I have more weeks of vacation than she does. I'm trying to figure out what to do with my time here. I've posted a few more things on my Etsy shop, Rusted Robot Toys. We're currently running a Labor Day sale and made a few sales from that, but not overwhelmingly so, even though everything's 25% off. It's not enough to get a full-time career out of reselling because we're not in the big city. We're in Sault Ste. Marie, Ontario, Canada, and even though it's better than where I lived in Timmins, there's not a lot of thrifting going on here. We have the Value Village, and there's an antique market on the weekends, but the prices aren't really great for reselling. We have some yard sales every once in a while, but it's a lot of Christmas decorations and wedding paraphernalia, and I'm not going to buy that and sell that on the Etsy shop. But you find the occasional thing here or there. My latest acquisition at the antique market were a couple of ashtrays in the shape of pistols or like a flintlock or a derringer. It's hard to tell. It's more abstract than anything. But it's an ashtray from the 70s made in Japan. And you can find those right now on Rusted Robot Toys on the Etsy shop. So I do enjoy thrifting and antiquing, and I think that's actually the next episode of the Have Coffee podcast that we're going to be doing. But you never know. I think right now, while I'm rambling and trying to think of the next thing to say, I'm going to play a promo for another podcast right here on the ESO network.
Who are you?
I'm Paul.
I'm Sean.
And I'm Dan. What do you want?
We want to review every episode of the 1990s sci-fi TV series Babylon 5,
It's TV movies.
And its spin-off series, Crusade.
Where are you going?
all the way to the end.
Who do you serve? And who do you trust? We serve the one
And our listeners.
Who are you?
We are the Epsilon 3.
And I hope you found that to be lovely and entertaining, and maybe if you want, you'll subscribe to that show and download it. But if you don't, well, that's understandable, because maybe you already have downloaded it. I don't know. What else is going on in my life here? Well, like I said, we're in the middle of negotiations, trying to sell a house. That's not easy. We take possession of the new house mid-October. It's got 4 bedrooms, so we'll have a nice office space and a guest room for any of you lovely listeners that would come and visit us here in Sault Ste. Marie, Ontario. But mostly it's for family and my son, if he ever decides to come here for a visit again. He's 18 now, that's Bishop. And I did hear from him yesterday for my birthday. But he's hard to get a hold of. He likes to hibernate, sleep in late, not really talk to anybody. I'm not sure what that is. It's a teenagery thing. Leah's son Wyatt's the same way. He doesn't really give you too much information. I don't know if that's this generation or if it's everybody really, but that's what's going on there. On the Hot Wheels front, I did manage to find a few of the Bumblebee Transformers Volkswagen Bugs. Those are hard to find, but I did manage to snag a couple. They're pretty cool, and apparently they're going for quite a bit on the secondary market because nobody else can find them either. But I collect Volkswagen Beetles, as many of you know, and that's a nice addition to the collection. The other day, Leah and I were sitting around, and it was getting to be evening time, and I'm like, you know what? I've got a pile of movies here. Why don't you pick one, and we'll watch it? And so she looked through, I think I had maybe like half a dozen DVDs there, and she's like, none of these are really appealing. I'm like, come on, these are my favorite movies. You gotta pick one. So she picked one at randomly, and it was Tarantino's Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. Now, I saw that in the theater back in 2019, and I thought it was a fantastic film. I hadn't seen it since, but I did buy it when it was on sale on DVD, or actually Blu-ray. And so that was the one she picked, and we're watching it. It's a 2.5-hour movie, and it's boring as hell, and nothing really happens. And I was like, this is not nearly as good as I thought it was. She was bored to tears, but I wouldn't let her play on her phone and ignore it. Because I was like, we're going to have a movie-going experience, because I'm all about the movies. We haven't watched any in a while. So we watched this thing, and I'm like, oh, sorry about that. I thought it was better than it was. But I think what had happened was I had seen it in the theater, and that automatically makes a film twice as good as it normally would be. Because you're in the theater, it's no outside experience, and I just love being in the theater, and I would go every couple days if I could, if there was that many good movies. We don't have a huge theater here. I think there's 7 theaters, and the same movies are in there for like weeks at a time. So we don't get all kinds of random things, obscure foreign films or anything like that. It's just the mainstream stuff. So Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, not as good as I had thought or remembered it being. I don't need to see it again, although it's a DVD in my collection, and I do not like getting rid of movies, but maybe I should, because I have a lot, and they're probably not nearly as good as I remember, especially if I haven't seen them in a long time. What did you think of Once Upon a Time in Hollywood? Have you seen it? I wonder if I actually did a review of it back in the Rusted Robot podcast days, because we used to review movies all the time. I don't remember.
Hey, this is Dr. Trek, Larry Nemechek, and you're listening to Soul Forge with Sean Vanderloo.
And what else is happening in life here? Well, kids went back to school this week. I'm off this week, like I said, and I've been posting on the Etsy shop and starting to pack up some of the things, because we've got a lot of stuff randomly around the house. October 15th is going to come sooner than we think. And that's never fun. I have moved so many times. It's really rather exhausting. And I'm hoping against hope that the next leap will be the leap home, and that'll be it, because I don't want to ever have to move again until they put me in the cardboard box there in the ground or whatever they're doing, because wood will be gone by that point, because I'm going to live for 1,000 years once I get my robot body. Oh, I said I wasn't going to talk about robot bodies and immortality here on the podcast, and guess what? I'm drifting into it, because that's always been something that I've been interested in. Replacement parts, immortality, anything kind of fun or exciting like that. And obviously, we're nowhere near that kind of technology, but it's fun to think about. What would you do with immortality? Would you get bored? Would you be sad because all your friends had died? If they didn't have the immortality, if they couldn't afford it, if they didn't want it? And as we all know, the older we get, the harder it is to make friends. So is the immortal man the loneliest person in the world? It's possible. I don't know where I was going with that, but maybe it's not that fun to think about. Maybe your immortality would suck. And especially if you don't have good health or money to go along with it. What's the point of being immortal and poor forever? That's no great. And if you don't have any kind of talent that you can market, well, then you're pretty much screwed, I believe. And what else did I want to talk about here? I didn't write down a list of anything exciting. It's just a random kind of episode this week, because I thought I was going to end this podcast. However, the downloads for the back catalog have been off the charts lately. I think we got, in August, twice as many downloads as we did over the past few months. And I don't know. People are just gobbling up the older episodes. Maybe they're finding it on YouTube. Maybe they're just finding the episodes because there's over 300 of them now. And the podcast has been going for just over 7 years. I'm thinking it's going to shut down within the next 6 to 8 months. I don't know. It's going to be a surprise. Running 2 podcasts is not always easy. I had a hard time with Soulforge and Rusted Robot going at the same time. And then there's the British podcasts that I do with Paul and Dan. The Epsilon 3 Babylon 5 Rewatch podcast, that just ended, so we haven't had to record any more of those episodes. But the Cosmic Pizza podcast, that's still going strong. In fact, we're recording an episode of that later today. Luckily, I don't have to edit or promote any of that stuff. But the two here, Have Coffee, Will Travel, and Soulforge, that's keeping me busy enough, along with packing, the Etsy shop, going to work, socializing, just trying to live a decent life and pay bills and all that kind of fun stuff. Yeah, it's a challenge some days. But here I am, killing it. And I guess really that's all that's been going on. This is just a quick update to let you know that Soulforge is sticking around for a little bit longer. Would really like it if you would all subscribe to Have Coffee, Will Travel. Other than that, hope you guys and girls out there in podcast land all take care of yourselves and each other. And remember, don't corner something that is meaner than you. Thank you for listening to another episode of the Soulforge podcast. Your support is greatly appreciated, and we hope you'll tune in again next time. Remember that you can visit soulforgepodcast.com for all of our social media links, and don't forget to share the show with everyone you know. The Soulforge podcast is your best source for living your best life.
Think about it.
This has been a broadcast of the ESO Network. Be part of the crew and help support our shows by donating to our ESO Patreon or by shopping at the TeePublic store, which can all be found at www.esonetwork.com. The ESO Network, your station for all things geek.